Now I'm going to tell you a story. I have a friend whose sister is a doctor. She went to left practice and went to work for a healthcare company. They sent her to California for training. They told her she'd be there for a week. At the end of the week, they said, you have to come back next week. She didn't question it. She did it. At the end of that second week, she's only going to be there a week. They said, you have to come back a third week. She said, wait a minute. Why do I have to come back? You told me a week. It's a medical doctor, very intelligent woman. They said, well, they're doing a tap dance. She said, no, I want to know. They said, you're not rejecting enough claims. The medical doctor was not rejecting enough claims. Someone who is making a decision based on medical training, who you and I would want to make that decision, was not rejecting enough claims. That speaks volumes. Whether it's true or not, there's another story in Harrisburg that somebody told me where claims were put in a room and forgotten about for a while. My wife Bonnie can tell you, because she's the best at this. There was a time period, it has gotten better, when we literally had to call and argue about every claim we had because 3/4 of them were rejected. Legitimate claims rejected, sent back to us. When Barney would argue with them, or eventually I would get on the phone and argue with them, we would get it taken care of and they would be paid because they were great or good, valid claims from the beginning. You know why they rejected them? Because half of us suckers will pay the bill. And they're not out that money, the money they owe us. Look, there's no question about it that we need to reform healthcare. And there are a lot of great ideas out there to do it. But here's something else we need to do. We Americans need to take some responsibility too. We don't want to do that anymore. When we were kids, many of us, my mom sent me to see Dr. Brooks on 10th Street with a $10 bill or a $5 bill or whatever it was, and I paid for it. And if you needed a bag of pills, you got them from him, and you gave him the $2.50 or whatever it is. We Americans are spoiled. Let's admit it, we are. We bitch and moan about our health care costs going up. At the same time, we hiss and moan because they want $5 more for a copay. Okay, we don't want to buy into putting anything out either. We want our cake and eat it too. And the fact is, you can't have it both ways. We do need to rein in cost, and we need to be a part of that. And it's the same, by the way, with the credit fiasco that we have. You know, sometimes when it comes to the credit fiasco, I don't know if the government taught us or we taught them. Now, what I mean by that is when I was a kid in Reading, that's really when credit started, after World War II. But there weren't any credit cards. On the way down, I was thinking my mother had a Sears charge card, and then being a real Reading person, we had a Bosco's charge card. Right? If you're from Reading, it's Bosco's, not Bosco's. But the furniture people used to come door to door. Remember that? If you bought furniture on time, they'd actually come once a week, once a month if you were a good payer, and once a week if you skipped. And growing up in the inner city, we had skippers, so we saw a lot of those people through the neighborhood. But now we're at the point where we buy far more than we need. Let's look at how this housing crisis happened. Yeah, Barney Frank and Dodd and people like that enabled these big loans for people who couldn't afford it, okay? But they went out and they bought a big house. And then they had to have two, not one, but two big and expensive cars to go with it. An adjustable mortgage and wishing and hoping that when it goes up, because, you know, they want to act like they were all duped, okay? And I'm sure some of the lenders were duping people. But also, a lot of us were wishing and hoping. You know, it may go up, but I'll be able to pay for that. You think about how spoiled we are in America. Our poor have cell phones and Blu-ray players and everything under the sun. And they deserve it. Just ask them. Just ask them. No, but I mean it. The fact of the matter is, we have to take responsibility too, here in America. And I know that being conservative patriots, you believe that. You believe that. But that's, our government is out of hand, but so are we. So there's personal responsibility in healthcare and finances as well. I wrap up my little talk usually by telling people that laughed at the beginning. The reason I come back to you laughing about me being President of the United States is I want you to go up to Robert Gleason or any Republican Party officials that you run into, because I'm running as a Republican, sir, okay? Even though I came from the class of '72 and was a Democrat growing up in Reading. My great-grandfather was a party boss. He ran the Ninth Ward, seriously. I tell people to go to Robert Gleason and tell them their candidate for President of the United States of America on the Republican side is right here in the state of Pennsylvania. His name is R.J. Harris. And when he laughs at you, just like some of you did at the beginning, and he dismisses you, you say, that's the problem, Mr. Gleason. This is not about R.J. Harris. This is about we are tired of you trying to tell us who in the heck we're supposed to vote for. We pay you to organize. We pay you to support the candidates that we choose. We're tired of being force-fed. Look at what we have been force-fed. John McCain was one of them, okay? Lynn Swan, a hell of a football player. Not much of a candidate. He's a fine man, but not much of a candidate. When Pat Toomey announced, I should say this, when Arlen Specter decided that he was going to leave the Democrat Party, which, as far as we're all concerned, he did many years ago, Pat Toomey announced that he was running. We had Peg Lipsick in there too, but Pat Toomey is announcing he was running. What happened to Pat Toomey? The first thing that Gleason and the Republicans did was run out and try, please, Tom Ridge, whatever you do, please run so that we don't get stuck with this conservative. Now, he just got their endorsement, but people forget that that's begrudgingly. No matter what anyone says, they wanted Tom Ridge or anybody else that could be in the middle to run. Again, tried to force feed us a candidate. But you know what? These people right here in this room wouldn't let that happen. That's why Pat Toomey is still there. So the bottom line is, you need to tell these people, and you are, that they need to listen to us, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. They need to listen to us, because we will have our way on Election Day. Mark my word. It's been a long year. It really has been. And it's been an exhausting year. We've been on the front lines. We really have. Tea parties, rallies against health care reform, rallies with Joe the Plumber, with card check. And that was all about freedom. That wasn't about anti-union. That's about freedom. It's been a long, hard year, and the battle isn't over. It's far from over. We need you guys in the trenches. We need you to turn out at all of these meetings. We need you to work hard for candidates, because it's not going to happen unless we do. For many, many years, we were complacent people who were active in politics and went and voted and talked to people, but we really weren't evangelists. We weren't. We need to witness now, and we need to witness to everybody we can, and we need to bring them to the polls. And the people who talk about politics and agree with you, make sure they're registered to vote. I had breakfast, I'm having one of them tomorrow, with a group of guys, my mechanic and several other guys. I was amazed. We talked about politics every week, and before the last presidential election, they said, yeah, we don't vote. We're not registered. Every one of them was registered by the next breakfast that we had. We need to be active. These people need to open their yams, but they also need to vote. So ladies and gentlemen, keep it up. You're the heart and soul of America, and we are going to take this country back. We are. President of the United States of America, and every kid growing up in the future should think that. Because the only place you can think that is the land of the free and the home of the brave. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.